show BNP securing well above 150-seat majority threshold, party declares victory.
Donald Trump warns that Iran will face very traumatic consequences if it fails to reach a deal on its nuclear program, saying he hopes an agreement can be achieved within a month.
Donald Trump's immigration point man Tom Homan announces the end of an aggressive federal enforcement operation in Minnesota that sparked widespread protests and national outrage after 2 U.S. citizens were killed.
Britain says Ukraine's Western allies pledge about $35 billion in military aid for 2026, including $13.6 billion from Germany, emphasizes continued support for Ukraine and increased pressure on Russia.
Lebanon's health ministry says an Israeli strike in southern Lebanon kills one person, while Israel says it targeted and killed a Hezbollah member. Attack comes despite a truce from November 2024.
Venezuelan lawmakers delay key amnesty bill aimed at stopping use of courts against political dissent, while thousands of opposition supporters gathered in Caracas to demand release of remaining political prisoners.
CIA expands a push to recruit spies, releasing a new Chinese language video that seeks to target disaffected military officers, a move likely to further infuriate Beijing.
North Korea warns of terrible response if another South Korean drone enters its territory after Seoul launches probe into recent incident. Kim Yo-jong calls such actions violation of North Korea's sovereignty.
US and Taiwan finalize a major trade agreement cutting US tariffs on Taiwanese imports to 15%. The deal also commits Taiwan to boost purchases of American energy, aircraft and industrial goods, strengthening economic and supply chain ties.
Now, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, led by Tariq Rahman, has claimed victory in the election.
In fact, adding to that, Jyotsna, the first since the 2024 uprising, that is the election which led to the collapse of Sheikh Hasina government.
And of course, at 5:30 a.m. local time, local broadcasters projected that the BNP has pushed well past the 150-seat threshold to secure a clear majority in the parliament. Jamuna and Somoy television channels reported that the BNP had secured 197 seats.
The stations further projected that the Islamist-led coalition headed by Jamaat-e-Islami has won 63 seats, which marks a huge leap from its past results, but far short of the outright win it had campaigned for.
In unofficial results, Election Commission officials said BNP's Tariq Rahman won from Dhaka and Bogra constituencies. Jamaat-e-Islami's president, Shafiqur Rahman, is leading from a seat in Dhaka.
The results are not official and counting is still on. Elections were held for 299 of the 300 seats due to the death of one candidate.
A referendum was also held on political reforms, including prime ministerial term limits, stronger checks on executive power, and other safeguards to prevent parliamentary power consolidation. The Election Commission said nationwide turnout in Bangladesh's 13th parliamentary election was 60.69%. All right, now what we know right now is in the Bangladesh Nationalist Party has now was led by Tariq Rehman, has claimed victory in the election. This is the first since the 2024 uprising that had led to the collapse of the Sheikh Hasina government. At about 5:30 a.m. local time, local broadcasters did predict that the BNP has pushed well past the 150-seat threshold to secure a clear majority in the parliament. And well, to get us more, our assistant editor for foreign affairs, Siddhant Sibal, is joining us live on the broadcast. Siddhant, you're there on the ground. First of all, tell us where you are. And we have the very primary results in. What is it like on the ground? Tell us more.
Well, I'm at the location, which is the hub of activity. I'm at the Election Commission, and I'm joined by Mr. Saeed, who is a former MP. Sir, welcome to WION. How do you see these election results? It's clear that BNP is sweeping.
Yes, thanks to the Almighty, BNP is going to be the absolute majority party in the parliament.
But how do you see these elections as? How important do you see these elections as?
It's a very great victory of the Bangladeshi peoples because after 18 years, 17 or 18 years, these Bangladeshi peoples got a chance to cast their vote, which is very much an important part of the democracy, parliamentary democracy. And the election was very peaceful, except some or a little troubles here and there.
Well, but what do you think will be the challenges for the new government, or perhaps how the new government will bring about more good governance, something that people of Bangladesh are keen to have?
Yes, Bangladeshi people's demand is a smooth way to the democratic process. And the democratic process, I think this will happen in Bangladesh because BNP has got the absolute majority, but simultaneously, under the leadership of Jamaat Islami, a big portion has got a chance to form the opposition in the parliament. So they will discuss, they will criticize the ruling party, and that will be a shadow government, I think, from the opposition.
On that note, thank you so much, sir, for speaking to WION. It was lovely speaking to you here at the Election Commission. So that's the view from the ground when it comes to the results. And I can tell you that this board has all the results. The board was empty just yesterday evening, and now it's full of all the results that have been declared. But clearly, lot of palpable excitement on the ground with the results out, and it looks like Bangladesh is going to have a stable government. A government that people are hoping will bring about semblance, especially in economic terms.
Yes. Siddhant, just a quick follow-up question before we let you go. You've been speaking to the people in Dhaka since yesterday and even before. What are the issues you think that actually resonated among the people, after which it seems that the BNP, which of course has crossed the majority, and we are waiting for that official announcement to follow?
Well, I've been speaking to people, and one thing that stood out is that everyone is hoping that the next government brings about stability, especially in the economic domain. Many of them are hoping that the situation that they saw in last 3 to 2 years will not be repeated. And also, I spoke to many minorities as well. They are hoping that their rights will be protected, their rights will be safeguarded. One trend that emerged clearly during this year's election is that the Awami League voters went clearly to the BNP. The minorities voted for BNP. And while Jamaat, of course, was not able to get as much number as perhaps it was hoping for, it has been able to make historic inroads for the first time since the country got independence in 1971. And the focus, of course, will be also to bring a semblance in the foreign affairs as well. Remember, the relationship with both of Bangladesh's neighbor, whether it's India, whether it's Myanmar, haven't been doing very well under the UNIS interim government. The focus of the new government will be to make sure that relationship is made stronger, firmer, and more workable.
True. Absolutely. As you mentioned, even domestic but also international issues, that's going to be, of course, a great focus considering how does BNP go forward with this. But thank you so much, Zidhan, for getting us all the updates from the ground from Dhaka. Thank you so much.
All right, we should focus then. Amid the threat of US military action, Iran says that consultations are underway to determine the date for next round of nuclear talks with US.
And Trump has also signaled that the U.S. will push for talks to arrive at a potential deal with Iran. And on the other hand, Trump's deputy, J.D. Vance, has said that there are other options. Our next report tells you more. Take a look.
American troops are ready to strike. Iranian missiles are locked and loaded. A small trigger can unleash a firestorm. Washington and Tehran both say that they are willing to engage in more talks. For now, things look complicated. US President Donald Trump met Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Washington. Trump says that he and Bibi agree that negotiations with Iran must continue to see whether or not a deal can be achieved. Tehran is also showing willingness to engage in diplomacy and says that the dates for the next round of talks are under discussion. This comes as an American nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln, along with other American warships, is on the prowl. Trump is now hinting that another aircraft carrier could be heading to the region.
As you know, we have a massive flotilla right now going over to Iran. We'll see what happens. I think they want to make a deal. I think they'd be foolish if they didn't. We took out their nuclear power last time, and we'll have to see if we take out more this time.
The US already has a massive military presence around Iran. About 40,000 American troops are deployed in its bases in Jordan, Qatar, and Iraq and Bahrain. Amid the war frenzy, Tehran says millions mark the 47th anniversary of the Islamic Revolution. Images from across Iranian cities show large number of people coming out and waving national flags. The images of support stood in stark contrast to the wave of protests just last month. It is a clear show of strength for the Iranian authorities. Iran has also reiterated its red lines. The country's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, has warned that Tehran would not yield to excessive demands, injustice, and aggression.
We are honest with all countries in the world and with the people of Iran. We have stated repeatedly that Iran does not seek nuclear weapons and is ready for any verification of that. The US and Europe have built a long wall of distrust with their words, which will impede the progress of nuclear talks. Iran will never surrender to their excessive demands and will never yield to injustice and aggression.
On the other hand, US Vice President warns that if talks fail, then there are other options.
At this point, how confident are you in going the diplomatic route? Do you think that is still going to be successful, or are we leaning more towards a military strike?
Well, look, the president's told his entire senior team that we should be trying to cut a deal that ensures the Iranians don't have a nuclear weapon. But if we can't cut that deal, then there's another option on the table. So I think the president's going to continue to preserve his options.
But with both sides engaging in talks and a war of words on the sidelines, tensions continue to simmer in West Asia. The region remains on edge, and a tiny spark could ignite an all-out war. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Well, U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson has condemned the Department of Justice's tracking of the search history of lawmakers reviewing the Epstein files.
Well, he called it inappropriate and likely an oversight. Attorney General Pam Bondi stirred controversy at her House Judiciary Committee hearing on Wednesday when she presented documents that included Democrat Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal's search history of documents reviewed from the Department of Justice database on Epstein files.
The photographs taken during the hearing showed the binder clearly displaying her name and the search history. The Justice Department had begun allowing lawmakers this week to view unredacted version of Epstein files on their computers. Outraged by the surveillance of its members, Democrats criticized the Justice Department, accusing it of spying. Well, after learning that her search history was reviewed by the Justice Department, Pramila Jayapal reportedly raised concerns, claiming it was a violation of separation of powers.
My understanding is that their computers set up where the DOJ was allowing access to the files, and I think members should obviously have the right to peruse those at their own speed and with their own discretion. And I don't think it's appropriate for anybody to be tracking that. So I will echo that to anybody involved with the DOJ, and I'm sure it was an oversight. That's my guess. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Our time for a very short break on World DNA. Coming up, Donald Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, has announced the end of an aggressive federal enforcement operation in Minnesota that triggered widespread protests and nationwide outrage after two U.S. citizens were killed. We'll get you all the details on the other side.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Well, President Donald Trump's border point person, Tom Homan, has announced the end of an aggressive immigration operation in Minnesota.
Now, these operations have triggered large protests and nationwide outrage following the killing of two U.S. citizens. Speaking at a news conference in Minneapolis, Homan said coordination with local law enforcement and success of immigration enforcement have contributed to the end of Operation Metro Surge.
I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude. A significant drawdown has already been underway this week and will continue to the next week. We have a lot of work to do across this country to remove public safety risk who shouldn't even be in this country.
Homan raised the prospect that the officers would be deployed to another location, but gave no details as speculation is rife about which city might be targeted next.
Now, thousands of federal agents have in recent weeks conducted aggressive raids and arrests in what the administration claims are targeted missions against criminals. The operation sparked mass protests in Minneapolis and the fatal shootings of Renee Good and Alex Purdy less than 3 weeks apart last month. Now, that led to a wave of criticism.
While Minneapolis residents and city leaders reacted with caution to the announcement that the surge in federal immigration enforcement activity is coming to an end.
Actions speak louder than words. So until we see them actually leave, we don't believe it. We're going to be out here until they prove it, until they stop running this Gestapo SUV, running through our streets, snatching up our neighbors, murdering our neighbors. Until that ends, we don't believe it.
Why should we trust somebody that lies? Look at Bondi, what she was doing, being interviewed. She was arrogant. Trump is arrogant. Holman is arrogant. There's no truth in this government at all. It's megas that are just out to hurt people.
To bring us more details on this, our correspondent Susan Denney sent us this report from New York. Let's listen in.
President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, announced that a major federal immigration crackdown in Minnesota known as Operation Metro Surge is coming to an end after weeks of controversial enforcement. The crackdown, which deployed thousands of ICE agents and other federal agents to the Minneapolis and St. Paul area, resulted in over 4,000 arrests and sparked mass protests among the residents, and officials continued to criticize the tactics. The operation drew backlash after 2 American citizens were fatally shot by federal officers, prompting protests and legal action as well. Homan now calls Minnesota safer and said that the operation will conclude. Democratic Governor Tim Walz urged vigilance and continued to condemn the surge, despite the fact that reports indicate state officials are cooperating now with ICE agents. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
And well, in other news, European allies huddled at NATO headquarters in Brussels in hopes to reboot and replenish its defense arc.
Well, this comes as US traces its steps backwards from the leadership role in the transatlantic alliance.
U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth did not attend this gathering of defense ministers. His no-show came after Secretary of State Marco Rubio skipped the last meeting of NATO foreign ministers in December. Ahead of the grand NATO huddle, U.S.'s Pentagon Policy Chief Elbridge Colby said that NATO should be based more on partnership than dependency.
Now it's time to march out together, to be pragmatic, to be focused on the kind of flexible realism that the national security strategy and the national defense strategy, are based on and really exhibit. And I think we have a really strong basis for working together in partnership, but putting NATO kind of a 3.0 NATO that's based a partnership rather than dependency, and really a return to what NATO was originally intended for.
Well, it's rare for members of a U.S. administration to miss a meeting of the organization's top decision-making body, the North Atlantic Council, at the level of ministers, let alone 2 meetings in a row. Under Secretary of War, who was sent in Hegseth's place, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte opened the meeting of defense ministers and even emphasized continued support for Ukraine while increasing defense budget.
In NATO's response to U.S. security concerns in the high north, Rutte also spoke about NATO launching Arctic Sentry, ostensibly aimed at countering Russian and Chinese activities or influence in the Arctic region.
NATO is always on duty to deter and defend. This is why we have just launched Arctic Sentry, giving Russia's increased military activity and China's growing interest in the high north. We will also discuss our continued support for Ukraine. As the United States continues to drive efforts to bring the war to a just and lasting end, Russia continues to pursue civilian targets, including energy infrastructure. So it is still essential that allies continue to step up support, including through NATO's Pearl initiative.
German Defense Minister Pistorius pressed for further European responsibility in NATO's defense efforts at NATO's summit in Hague in July. European allies, with the exception of Spain plus Canada, agreed to Trump's demands that they invest the same percentage of their economic output on defense as the United States within a decade. European leaders even pledged to spend 3.5% of gross domestic product on core defense and a further 1.5% on security-related infrastructure, a total of 5% of GDP by the year 2035. Well, time to head in a very short break for now, but coming up on World DNA, Bangladesh Nationalist Party led by Tariq Rahman has claimed victory in election. We track the latest on ground from Bangladesh after this very short break.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
As the world celebrates the power of love this Valentine's week, we get you a list of our hand-picked rom-com suggestions. Know all about the viral relationship trends of 2026. And find out who's the biggest superstar in showbiz right now. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Beyond the noise and rhetoric, no election, no ballot issue too small. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. More than just headlines. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power. Only on WION. World is One.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching World DNA with me, Jyotsna Kumar, and my colleague Samisha Srivastava. Let's begin with the headlines.
Bangladesh Nationalist Party led by Tariq Rahman is poised for a historic win, leading in 212 of 300 seats in 13 general election. Securing two-thirds majority, Jamaat-e-Islami-led alliance wins 70 seats.
Donald Trump warns that Iran will face very traumatic consequences if it fails to reach a deal on its nuclear program, saying he hopes an agreement can be achieved within a month.
Donald Trump's immigration point man, Tom Homan, announces the end of an aggressive federal enforcement operation in Minnesota that sparked widespread protests and national outrage after 2 U.S. citizens were killed.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio departs for Munich Security Conference, where he aims to keep pressure on Europe amid Greenland tensions, though the tone is expected to be less confrontational than last year.
Lebanon's health ministry says an Israeli strike in southern Lebanon kills one person, while Israel says it targeted and killed a Hezbollah member. Attack comes despite a truce from November 2024.
CIA expands a push to recruit spies, releasing a new Chinese language video that seeks to target disaffected military officers, a move likely to further infuriate Beijing.
Japanese authorities seize a Chinese fishing boat and arrest its skipper in Japan's exclusive economic zone of Nagasaki. This marks the first such seizure since 2022 and may even heighten tensions with Beijing.
North Korea warns of terrible response if another South Korean drone enters its territory after Seoul launches probe into recent incident. Kim Yo-jong calls such action violation of North Korea's sovereignty.
Wall Street sank on Thursday with the Nasdaq sliding 2% as investors sold off tech and transportation stocks on growing fears about AI disruption. A disappointing update from Cisco added pressure, sending the S&P 500 down 1.6% and the Dow off more than 660 points.
I'm here in Dhaka, and Dhaka is geared up for the elections.
They're coming together, the first-time voters, they're overly excited.
Well, our top focus remains the Bangladesh election results. Bangladesh Nationalist Party, led by Tariq Rahman, has claimed victory in the election.
And this is the first since the 2024 uprising that led to the collapse of the Sheikh Hasina government. And according to unofficial results, the alliance led by BNP has a strong lead with victories in 212 constituencies.
The Islamist-led coalition headed by Jamaat-e-Islami has won 70 constituencies. Meanwhile, independent candidates and other parties have collectively won around 6 seats.
Now, the results are not official and counting continues. Elections were held for 299 of the 300 seats due to the death of one candidate.
A referendum was also held on political reforms, including prime ministerial term limits, stronger checks on executive power and other safeguards to prevent parliamentary power consolidation. The Election Commission even said that nationwide turnout in Bangladesh's 13th parliamentary elections was 60.69%.
And well, to discuss more, we have with us Mr. Sabir Mustafa, who is a journalist and former head of BBC Bangla service. He's joining us from Dhaka. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, it's a big day for Bangladesh Nationalist Party re-entering this political forefront, and especially for Tariq Rahman, 18 years of exile and coming back with a big win. How do you analyze this?
Well, I mean, it's been 25 years since the BNP won an election in Bangladesh, 2001, and that time they won a two-thirds majority as well. So now Tariq Rahman, who had to leave the country in 2007 because of various factors, and it was the military which forced him to leave the country. So for him to come back and then sweep to such a victory, it's not only a vindication of his personal leadership and also the legacy of his mother, Khaleda Zia, who was prime minister 3 times, and also his father, who was president and former army chief as well, and founder of his party. So what he's done is that he's proved that his party is not beholden to the Islamist Jamaat-e-Islami. A lot of people thought that BNP was too closely aligned with the Jamaat, and that would be their downfall. But he's proved that without the Jamaat, he can perform an electoral victory. But of course, we have to keep in mind that this was a kind of an open field, because the Awami League, BNP's main rival for many years, has not been in the field because they've been banned from participating in elections.
Mr. Mustafa, second question to you in two parts. One, if you can quickly explain to us the formation of the government ahead, one. And second, in your view, what do you think did not work for the Gen Z youth, for that matter, the NCP that had allied with the Jamaat-e-Islami?
Well, firstly, the BNP's government will be very much a mixture of their past ministers. They were, sort of loyal stalwarts of her mother, Khaleda Zia. They will be there in the cabinet. But Tariq Rahman will choose some younger, newer faces as well. Now, we don't know what who those faces would be, because in Bangladesh, we don't have a system of a shadow cabinet or, a clear-cut, foreign minister or a finance minister in waiting, that kind of thing. Only we know who the prime minister would be. So, but we expect it will be quite a kind of moderate government, and the finance ministry will be headed by someone who will be committed to economic reforms, and the foreign ministry will certainly be with someone who is a moderate in foreign policy and who will be keen to improve relationship with India, for instance. And of course, and someone who can maintain a good relationship with the US. That would be also very crucial. As far as the student-led party, the NCP, is concerned, when the party was formed, a lot of people thought the party would create a lot of buzz and have a lot of traction. But the leaders of the party proved themselves to be pretty immature in politics, and many of them got into making money and stuff like that, aligning themselves with businessmen and other business deals. So they quickly lost any kind of credibility they had as the leaders of the revolution against Sheikh Hasina. And the party became, or was in danger of becoming, marginalized. And which is why they went into this alliance with Jamaat to basically use Jamaat's organization and votes to gain some seats in parliament, which they have done. I think they're going to have 4 or 5 or 6 leaders in parliament, and which they would not have gained if they had not aligned with Jamaat this time. So it's a story of failure, really. But this is the first time election. The NCP now has a few MPs, and maybe in the next election, through more experience, maybe they will be able to fight the next election on their own rather than as a coalition member with Jamaat.
Right. And let's also talk about Tariq Rahman here, 18 years of exile. And, if I must also note, a male prime minister after almost a decade or two. What is that held? Absolutely. What is that actually led for Tariq Rahman to actually gain that kind of traction? Especially, you mentioned, of course, my colleague also mentioned the youth protests that really took over so much. What is it that really pushed Tariq Rahman into getting this kind of majority?
Well, Tariq's popularity or his standing in the party is basically a reflection of his family connection. I mean, he's the party leader because he's Khaleda Zia's son. It's a dynastic party, just like the Congress in India, for instance, or the Awami League in Bangladesh, that the leader's son or daughter, will lead the party. Now, and the party members, they want someone to carry the legacy of the party founder, Zia Rahman, and then Khaleda Zia. So this is what they look for. And Tariq Rahman delivered that he carries the legacy of the party leaders. And therefore, he commanded absolutely universal loyalty from party rank and file. Even the more senior leaders who may not have been too happy with some of Tariq's activities during the last time BNP were in power in 2001 and 2002, 2006, even they acknowledged that the party's future lay with Tariq Rahman. And since coming back, he has projected an image of a reformed man, of a modern, democratic, tolerant guy. That is 17 years in the UK has changed him, because usually people saw him as a corrupt, power-hungry young man. But this year they saw a totally different Tariq Rahman, and he spoke in a different kind of language. His whole demeanor was different from all other political leaders. So the youth thought, and many youth, BNP youth, and as well as people outside BNP felt that here was a leader who is probably trying to change the style of politics, maybe the substance as well. So they have put their faith in Tariq Rahman to change the political culture of the country.
Right, and also, if I may ask, what could be the possible, hurdles or problems that he has to overcome, into giving more faith to the people there, and also what's next for Muhammad Yunus, the interim, leader there?
Well, Muhammad Yunus, obviously, he has to leave office because the new, party has been elected to parliament, and they will take oaths very soon, within the next couple of days, and then the new government will be formed. So Yunus will have to leave office, but at least he's delivered a peaceful, a credible election, although it was not inclusive because Awami League and some other parties were kept out of the election, but still it was peaceful and the voting went properly. So he can say that I did my job, so I can exit honorably. So that's Yunus. And Tariq Rahman's biggest challenge immediately will be the law and order situation. He has to, bring some order in the country. And also the economy. That will be his another headache because the economy is totally stagnant. Unemployment is going up. Investment is practically nil. The growth has, gone into practically into negative territory because when you take inflation into account. So that's a big headache for him. Getting the economy back on track, getting employment up, and putting money back into people's pockets. So these are these big challenges. But also, he has so many challenges. He has to restore relationship with India, which has been practically non-existent for the last year and a half. So that's a major challenge for him. And the Yunus government recently signed a trade deal with the US. So he has to look at that and what his government has to deliver on that. And it's not going to be easy, but it's a very tough trade deal for Bangladesh. So he has he does have a lot of challenges ahead of him. Right. He will celebrate today, but he won't be celebrating tomorrow, let's say.
Well, of course he will be. Well, thank you so much. That was Mr. Sabin Mustafa, journalist joining us from Dhaka. Thank you so much for giving us all your insights regarding this.
Thank you.
All right, we should focus then. The son of former Pakistan Prime Minister and founder of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, Imran Khan, has accused the Pakistan government and military leadership of averting responsibility.
And this is for his father's deteriorating health. And this following reports that Imran Khan has lost most of the vision in his right eye. A post on X, Qasim Khan said it is the direct consequence of 922 days of solitary confinement, medical neglect, and the deliberate denial of proper treatment in jail.
The former Pakistan Prime Minister's lawyer Salman Safdar, who met him in jail on Tuesday, has submitted a report to Pakistan's Supreme Court. In this report on Khan's living conditions in Lahore's Adiala jail, Safdar has claimed that the former PTI chief has lost 85% of his vision in the right eye.
And this comes a few weeks after he was officially diagnosed with right central retinal vein occlusion, a medical condition which can cause permanent damage to eyesight if left untreated.
According to Imran Khan, he suffered a sudden and complete loss of vision in his right eye after October last year. Despite complaining about this to the jail superintendent, he was merely given eye drops for 3 months, which resulted in no improvement whatsoever. He was secretly then rushed to Pakistan Institute of Medical Sciences only in January, where he was administered an injection. Now, his lawyer has also added that the former Pakistan Prime Minister appeared visibly distressed by the loss of vision and was repeatedly using a tissue to wipe his watery eyes.
Right, it's time for a very short break on World Today. We'll be right back after this. India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau has strongly refuted reports claiming that the Ahmedabad Air India crash investigation has blamed the pilot for the incident. Probe agency said that investigation is still underway. We'll get you more details on that on the other side.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Welcome back. Now, India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau has strongly refuted the reports regarding the Air India crash probe.
Now, that had pinned the blame for the incident on the pilot. The probe agency says the investigation into the tragic June 2025 crash of Air India flight AI-171 in Ahmedabad is still ongoing and no conclusion have been reached.
While issuing a clarification, AAIB said that media reports which suggested that the investigation into the accident has been finalized are completely incorrect and speculative. The agency even stressed that aviation accident investigations follow international protocols and take time to ensure accuracy. It urged the public to avoid relying on unverified claims.
The probe agency issued a statement after Italian Daily, citing unnamed sources, reported that investigators had determined the crash was caused by an intentional act by the pilot rather than a technical defect. According to the report, the crash may have occurred after the aircraft's fuel switches were intentionally turned off during the flight.
The Aviation Accident Probe body even says that the final report will include the confirmed findings only after the investigations conclude. Meanwhile, Air India is finalizing compensation for families of the AI-171 crash victims. Payments are being made on a full and final basis. This comes as the investigation into the crash continues.
Now considered one of the deadliest plane crashes in history, the London-bound Air India Flight 171, carrying 242 people on board, crashed moments after taking off from Ahmedabad's Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport on 12th of June last year. The ill-fated incident resulted in the death of 241 people on board, leaving only one survivor. Other casualties were also reported on the ground at this crash site, bringing the total death toll to 260. And in some business news, the US dollar has weakened significantly over the past year.
Well, it has touched levels not seen since 2022 and slided roughly 9% against a basket of major currencies for that matter.
And what does that mean for the economy and for everyday people's wallets? Our next report gives you more details on this. Take a look.
The US dollar index, a measure of the greenback against other major currencies, has been on a downward path, hitting its lowest point in several years amid economic uncertainty and market expectations of future rate cuts. Now to the impact, a weaker dollar often makes imported goods more expensive. When the dollar weakens, companies must pay more dollars for the same foreign products, and that means everyday items like phones, electronics, clothing, or even groceries can become pricier as import costs rise. With the US heavily reliant on imports, this feeds into inflation, shrinking people's purchasing power at the checkout counter. For people planning to travel or send money overseas, this shift matters too. A weaker dollar means travelers get less foreign currency for each dollar, making international trips more expensive. And for families receiving remittances from abroad, the value of that money can fall, making every dollar sent home buy less. But it's not all bad news for the economy. A weaker dollar can make American goods cheaper for foreign buyers, boosting exports and potentially helping US manufacturers and multinational companies. Global sales, once converted back into dollars, can inflate the reported earnings of big US exporters, which may support stock prices. Now let's talk about how this plays out in the US. Consumer spending, which makes up about 2/3 of the US economy, has shown signs of slowing, with flat retail sales reported in the final months of last year. Higher prices for imports and caution about the labor market can make households think twice before opening their wallets. And the dollar's decline isn't just a US story. It has ripple effects across the world. Some analysts warn that a sharp and sustained dollar drop could act like a recessionary shock for economies outside the United States, slowing global growth and prompting central banks to ease monetary policy. Meanwhile, rival currencies like the euro and China's yuan are gaining traction in global finance, contributing to the shift away from dollar dominance. Business Bureau, WION World is one.
Now, Italian tax police have searched Amazon's headquarters in Milan.
And this is in a new tax evasion investigation into the U.S. tech giant. And according to Reuters report, the probe focuses on whether Amazon had an undeclared permanent business based in Italy and should have paid more tax in the country.
Well, the report goes on to say that Italy's financial crime police carried out searches at the houses of 7 Amazon managers and even the offices of auditing firm KPMG. Prosecutors are now examining whether Amazon operated through a permanent undeclared base in Italy between 2019 and 2024. Milan prosecutors have opened an investigation into Amazon EU SAL and its director Barbara Scarafia on suspicion of failing to declare income. Investigators say that Amazon had a permanent establishment in Italy even before August of 2024 and point to a 2024 staff transfer involving 159 employees, which they believe amounted to a permanent business presence.
Now, police seized computers and other ID devices during the searches, and the move comes as Amazon continues to face several other investigations in Italy after agreeing in December to pay $605 million to settle a separate tax dispute. Well, shifting our focus to football, Manchester United co-owner Jim Ratcliffe has apologized for his controversial comment where he claimed that the UK has been colonized by migrants.
Well, Ratcliffe has even said that he was sorry for his choice of language, but maintained that there should be an open debate about immigration policy as well as economic growth going forward.
Now, this apology comes after he was criticized by several Manchester United supporters groups